And give our praise, honor, and glory to the one and only Elohim, the Elohim of Israel. Shalom and blessings to all my brothers and sisters, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertain the adoption, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the law, the service of Elohim, and the promises, whose are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, our Mashiach came, who is over all Elohim blessed, Hope all is good and well. Want to welcome everybody to this fellowship. Can you prove that African Americans, quote unquote, are indigenous to America? We're going to be bringing out some things today, and hopefully we can get some people to come in with proof and evidence that we so-called blacks, African Americans, are indigenous to this land. We're gonna bring out some things today, some different thoughts, some different angles. Is this an agenda? Is this a sincere effort to wake our people up by telling us we indigenous, or is this a distraction from something greater? So we're gonna get into it. What's going on, brother Kadar, brother Josiah?
What's going on? Can you hear me good?
Yeah, you sound great, bro.
All right. Yes, I would love to have the people that can't come on and saying that we are these indigenous people, because I want to ask them, do they believe in the Bible? But I always can't forget to say all praise to the Most High Yah for be living in this time, waking us up, and for the Messiah dying for our sins, the Negroes scattered to the four corners of the earth.
Brother Josiah, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Shalom and blessings to the family, 12 tribes, people in the chat, my brothers on the panel. Are African Americans indigenous to America? History and science says no. The Bible also describes a people removed from their homeland and scattered. So I think about this question, we should just both look at history and the scriptures to answer this question. Shalom.
Yeah, both of y'all brought out some real good angles, some good perspectives that we're gonna look at, especially when you said you wanted to ask them if they believe in the Bible, right? I think that's a real good angle, because that goes back to what's the agenda behind this belief or this doctrine of us being indigenous. We know biblically what it says, concerning us being scattered, and we know what America symbolizes biblically. I want to bring up Genesis 15 here in a second, but that's definitely a perfect angle to consider. Shibriya, love, what's going on? Shalom, good to see you, my love, as always. Brother Yanakota, shalom, bro. Good to see you in the chat. Got Mighty Line in the chat, shalom, good to see you, bro. Sister Adara Yahoo, shalom, sis. Good to see you as always. We got Brother Robert Yeller Sr., shalom. All praise to the Most High indeed. I know my intros are kind of long, but I like to kind of, make everything relaxed a little bit. And, I also, for people who got music and stuff, I like to, showcase that in the intro, because I know our brothers and sisters still like music and that kind of thing. So it's in a righteous sense, but all praise to the Most High, man. Good to see you in the chat, bro, as always. And Brother Kadar, when he opened up his lives, you like to say, giving praise to the Most High for letting us know, waking us up to who we are. And I think that's more profound than people realize, and even that we know, particularly in this time. But good to see you, Brother Robert. Sister Zuriah by Yisrael, shalom, sis. Good to see you in the chat. Good to see all y'all, man. Hope y'all had a good week. Sister Paula Ann, driving them trucks. Shalom, sis. And I know that's kind of rough, man, on being on the road driving them trucks. Hopefully you local with it, but that's some work nonetheless. Sister 78 Vet, shalom, sis. Good to see you in the chat. She say she off today, so she got the smoke. Hey, y'all bring the scriptures, bring the sources, because that's what this is about. said before when we talked about this that I believe this is a distraction, especially in this particular time. And I remember the point that I believe it was Sister 78 Vet brought up, that this is an attempt to keep us from acknowledging who we are as the people. So it's we know the enemies do everything they can to stop prophecy or to interrupt it or disrupt it in some kind of way. The Bible says, and I'm paraphrasing, that your seed will be known among the Gentiles. The nations will have to acknowledge who we are at some point. And so I see that shaping up. What y'all think about that, though?
Shaping up, exactly right. We got, what's that guy that be on Fox News? Tucker Carlson. I don't know if I'm saying his name right.
Yeah.
He even questioned these people now. Why don't you have a DNA test? Why is the DNA test is forbidden in the land of Israel, Israelis, right? So all these things is coming about. Like the scripture says, he says they gonna wonder in Revelation whose name is not written in the book of life from the foundation of the earth. That's just where we at today.
I'm getting ready to pull up the scripture. Go ahead, bro.
I just gotta stick with what the scripture says. And this is the only thing that we have. You can look at mainstream media, the system, how they teach us all these different things. And you know, when black people say they are indigenous, we're just looking for an identity. And we are indigenous. How come the actual indigenous people had got reparation? That would be my question. So when I stick with what the scripture says, Israel was removed from their homeland, right? Deuteronomy 28:63 to 64. God warned Israel that they would be plucked off the land. They would be scattered among the nations. And if they are scattered, they are no longer indigenous to where they end up. Scattering people live in the lands that they are now originated from or not theirs. So when you go to Genesis 15, I'll let you go ahead and walk that through.
I see you fired up for that, man. I'm gonna let you have that one. I'm definitely gonna pull that up. But what I want to do real quick under fair use, I want to lighten it up, you know what I mean, and just show you what other platforms, other perspectives, other people think about this, you know, blacks being indigenous. This is under fair use. We're going to definitely look at a few things tonight, but we're going to check this out, and I want to see what y'all think about this.
Osio. Huh? Talagiani Vuyanafo?
I don't understand.
I know.
Yeah, he's definitely not a real Cherokee.
I just spoke with a black man who said he was here to claim his true identity, but get this, he didn't even speak Cherokee.
We were already here. Tamaricans will reclaim the land, and we have our own language. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
That's French, my guy.
Black Americans who claim to be Native American despite history, DNA, and archaeology are no different than trans people. So we might as well call it the LGBTQP for pretending and throw the copper color on the rainbow for the copper color pretending.
So let's hear it, brothers, man. What y'all think? Because, of course, I thought this was hilarious, but, you know, it's basically showing how, you know, they don't understand the Cherokee language. And when you look at the indigenous claim, I want to look at what indigenous means and sort of break that down in context of what we're dealing with indigenous, right? But what y'all think about this, man? He said, you know, black people who claim to be indigenous with no proof are like trans people in theory. You know, what y'all think about that?
it, you saying how you comparing it to the trans people?
Yeah, just the mindset or the theory of, you know, saying we're indigenous with no proof, no evidence, you know, nothing to solidify it. Right? You're like a trans person in the mind. Galatians 4:6. What y'all think about that?
Our people, man. This is what happens when you are stripped from your culture, your language. You try to identify with something that's not yours. Like the Most High said, He will scatter us among the heathens and worship their gods. So us coming to America, we will scatter among the Indians or the Americans, whatever you want to call them, because they was here first. So just because we actually has kids by some of them actually had kids by them doesn't make us actually indigenous because we had kids by them. And that's what some people are actually claiming, that they're Indian because probably their great grandma got with, you know, an Indian, and now they feel like they Indian.
So yeah, that mixture, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, that goes into another thing I'm gonna bring out, you know, but you know, you can finish your point.
No, that was it. That was it. I thought I seen T on here.
Yeah, he is. I'm gonna bring you in a minute, T. I'm gonna get Brother Kadar's thoughts on this video. I know I sent you this, Kadar, and you reacted to it. You there, Kadar? What's all right?
Yeah. I'm here. I was talking to my son. I'm here.
Yeah, I was saying, let me get your thoughts on this video.
This video, they made it. I watched that video. I made it to mark the black people, and it's really funny because I want y'all to think about that. If black people came from Africa here, and you know, probably did, I don't know, but why are we living in two peas? Why don't we have nothing to wear? Later on, you can see in Mexico they built monuments and temples. But the fact of in America, it's a lot of two P's or tents or whatever you want to call it. We was more advanced by then, you know.
Hmm.
And so this is something that our people don't think about. However, when you know the Bible, you wouldn't take claim to you wouldn't take claim to this land if you was the first people here. What's gonna happen in the end? That's why I would love for them to come on, so-called Black Americans, and claim that they are the indigenous people. Because if they was to come on, we can talk about this, right? And we can, man, it would be great.
Also, I want to say this: a lot of our people are trying to reject the fact that we was actually slaves. That slave narrative. They'll go so far as, oh, I don't believe what the white man is saying, and they'll actually throw away that we was actually brought over here on ships. You get what I'm saying? Because they told us that in school. So they don't believe nothing the white man says. But to be honest with you, the transatlantic slave trade has proof because they got documents. They got the actual transatlantic slave trade database where they actually purchase us, the receipts and stuff like that. So where are the receipts and the evidence that we are indigenous to America?
Exactly. And
why you call us African Americans if we indigenous?
Yeah, that go back into the political side, and then they even discredit the database, the transatlantic slave trade database, you know, as evidence. Like you say, that those are receipts, evidence, and proof. you know, that ties into the actual history of that. But brother T, what's happening, bro?
Shalom and blessings, man. Can y'all hear me all
Yeah, you good.
right? All right, man. Sorry I'm running a little behind, man. I'm still putting this grill together out here.
Uh-oh. Yep. See,
Yeah.
you must got you one of them real ones.
Yeah, it's one of them nice ones, man. It take a minute.
Yeah, see,
Pretty big. Yeah.
you messing around now.
Uh, yeah. But yeah, I hate I didn't get to see what the video was all about. What was they talking about in the video?
Okay, well, since you didn't see the video, I'm gonna replay it for you.
All right. Oh, and shalom and bless to everybody in the chat. What up, fam?
Yeah. Good to see you, bro, as always. Glad to have y'all on the panel. Good to see y'all in the chat. You know, it's a family atmosphere, but y'all go ahead and hit the like button, you know, share, all that good stuff. Just in case somebody else want to join the family, somebody else real, you know, true Israel. You know what I mean? Most High is true people. Check this out, bro.
Osio. Huh? Talagiani Vuyanafo?
I don't understand.
I know.
Yeah, he's definitely not a real Cherokee.
I just spoke with a black man who said he was here to claim his true identity, but get this. He didn't even speak Cherokee.
We were already here. Americans will reclaim the land, and we have our own language. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
That's French, my guy.
Black Americans who claim to be Native American despite history, DNA, and archaeology are no different than trans people. So you might as well call it the LGBTQP for pretending and throw the copper color on the rainbow for the copper color pretending.
Osio.
What you think, brother T?
Man, that's fire right there. Bro, he kicked the French on him. Oh man, that's wild, dude. But hey, that's true though. You know, got so many of our people saying that our people are having an identity crisis, which I understand that to an extent. But I just still see this as a form of idol worship. You know what I mean? And because you're denying who the Most High called you to be, and you'd rather, embrace something that don't even got nothing to do with you. And on top of all of that, just like I grew up where I am down here in Tennessee, man. A lot of people feel like they're Indians here, you know, and denying the slave trade and all that. So, but I say, it's a double whammy for me. You're denying your inheritance and you're basically calling the Most High a liar because if you go against the transatlantic slave trade, then you go against Genesis 15. You see what I'm saying? Like, ain't no way out of that. Oh, and Deuteronomy 28:68. I mean, it's right there in the word. So, that's pretty much it.
But see, you, me, Kadar, Zasad, brothers and sisters in the chat, we fear the Most High. We fear His word. They don't. So what's that to them, right? When we say they going against Genesis 15, right? Let me show you what Genesis 15 say. Brother Kadar earlier said they don't believe in the Bible, and that's apparent.
Yeah, ain't no way.
This Genesis 15 verse 12. It said, when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed should be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. we all well aware of this passage. And the key thing that I guess, we want to point out is where it says, and he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed should be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. So who is this speaking? We know this the Most High speaking, right? So if the Most High is saying that they're going to be afflicted in a land that's not theirs, right? And we see that we've been afflicted here. We see that the 400 years of affliction fits this time frame. Why are we saying that this is our land? And would that not be going against the Most High?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The Most High is not going to tell you that it's not yours, but just because of, pretty much hearsay and rumor talk and TikTok or whatever, then you're going to claim something that's not yours. Like I said, bro, to me, bro, that's willfully giving away your inheritance and being willfully ignorant too, just because of what somebody else said. That's crazy.
If they if they don't believe in the Bible, right? So what would they be believing in if we are indigenous to America? How do you prove that you are indigenous to America?
Word of mouth. That's all you got. You ain't got nothing else.
How do you prove that?
How do you prove that you're indigenous to any land, right?
Right.
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Let's ask that.
Hmm.
Galatians 4:26. I'm tripping, bro. I got verse 6 highlighted, Yanako. They say, but Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. But you know what, Yanako? They saying Jerusalem is in America.
Utah.
Brother Kadar, you said something profound, man, a long time ago. You don't even probably remember. You said that all this is going to eventually lead to them believing that this is the land.
Yeah, it makes sense. A lot of people are going to be left behind because of that. But if they believe we're indigenous to America, that's why I asked the question, do they believe in the Bible? Because it means Adam was here. Eve was here. The dude told me the ark was built here. That's what he said.
He said the ark was built here.
Yeah, because Florida have gopher wood. That's what he said. I said, what did that have to do with where Jerusalem at?
Right. So Florida is the only place gopher wood grow.
That's what he's trying to say.
How do you prove if you are indigenous to a land?
Hey, what's crazy? I typed that same thing in. I said, how do one prove they are indigenous to a land? And it says proven indigenous ancestry is a multi-step process that combines genealogical research, documentation, and in many cases, official recognition by a specific indigenous nation or tribe. It is not generally proven through DNA tests alone, as tribal nations set their own citizenship requirement based on kinship, descent, and history.
Yeah, but
let's see what yours say.
That's talking about Native Americans and how they go about it. I'm trying to find a response. Let me do it like this. I'm trying to find a response to how do you prove that you're indigenous to any land, right? How do you prove that you are indigenous to any land? It says proving let me see something. It says proving indigenous identity is a multifaceted process that varies significantly depending on whether the goal is personal discovery, international recognition, or formal tribal enrollment. There is no single universal definition of indigenous. Instead, identity is often determined by a combination of self identification, community acceptance, and genealogical documentation. So it's sort of still curving toward the how they do things. Um, Let me see. How can we frame this question? Y'all figure that out. I'm a what happened to Brother T? Okay, you good, Brother T?
Yeah. My fault, brother. I had my phone in my hand. Let me say my pocket. My bad. I got you though. I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm gonna think about that
Uh,
question. That's a really good question.
so it's basically saying that you prove you're indigenous through various means, right? Let me see. It says proving indigenous identity is a multi-layered process that typically requires individual self-identification, verified genealogical lineage. All right, so let's break this down. How do you prove your genealogical lineage?
Proving your family history involves creating a documented chain of evidence, connecting you to an ancestor. This uses records like birth, marriage and death certificates, census records, and wills. The genealogical proof standard requires thorough research and resolving any conflicting information.
Y'all heard that?
Yeah, I heard it.
It says proving genealogical lineage involves building a documented generation by generation paper trail or chain of evidence connecting you to an ancestor through primary sources of birth, marriage, and death certificates alongside census records and wills. The genealogical proof standard requires exhaustive research, accurate citations, and resolving conflicting evidence. What y'all think about that?
Did it say something about research? Because that's
Yeah,
what I'll be only concerned with. Okay, so
it
when you
says
look at research, right?
exhaustive research.
Say it again.
It says exhaustive research.
Exhaustive research. So you
Yeah,
going over the limit, right?
yeah,
Going beyond to find out, right?
yeah.
Ain't that what we're doing in the scriptures?
Yep.
Because it's like the whole world is trying to hide who we truly are. So this is why you have conspiracies and talks about we this, we that. But we are the people on this panel that actually did the thorough research to prove who we are. Because America tell us that, and through their receipts, that we was brought over here. And that lines up with the scriptures that we was brought over here through ships and scattered through the four corners of the earth. So you have the Bible and the people, you have the Bible and a non-bias agreeing with who we are and where we came from.
Okay. I'm go ahead.
Would not DNA be a reason, be a form of extensive research like that? Because I mean, you got to go back so many,
Okay.
to your lineage.
Check this out.
Would that be a form?
Genealogy.
Hold on. Okay. This is how you know the internet is evasive in a lot of ways. It says genealogy is the study and tracing of family lineages, ancestries, and histories to understand family origins by analyzing records like birth certificates, census data, and DNA. Individuals document relationships, create family trees, and discover their heritage. It serves as a personal, historical, or legal quest to uncover one's roots or narrative. Now, what did every other definition before this do when we looked up how do you research a genealogy? Did it mention anything about DNA?
Yeah, it did.
Well, no, not the first two.
No, not the first two.
But this one did. When I put in what is genealogy. But the other ones, when I mentioned how do you research a genealogy, right? Oh, birth certificates, birth records, and all this stuff. So, but genealogy within itself is the study of all of that. So, to be fair, I don't want to discredit birth certificates, birth records, because if you can prove anything by that, so be it. But the DNA is also a part of that. You see what I'm saying? If you claim to be something, but DNA wise, you can't prove that, then how are you researching or going by the full aspect of a genealogy if you're just going by paper records and that type of thing? You see what I mean?
Right. Okay.
I think language is one of the strongest indicators of a long-term inhabitation and religions, because when you think about language spoken to 1,000 years, it should show a continual presence of the speaker, right? So what was the language that the indigenous people spoke, and why we not speaking those same language today?
Yeah, what was the reason behind it?
What was the rivers called? What we used to call river? We speak English.
Yeah, what's the reason behind Black people who claim to be Native not speaking the language? Unless you want to say English was the language. But like Cherokee, like that example on there, I heard a dude ask a brother, why don't you speak the language? And he used slavery as an excuse to why we don't speak the language.
African American language affects wherever they were scattered from. And like I said, it's the fingerprints. Language is the fingerprints or the important part of a people, of a land, especially if your ancestors lived there for thousands of years. So what would be the word for river in the indigenous language? Because we speak with English right now. So what was our indigenous language before that? What was river called if you're indigenous? You should be able to teach that to me if we are indigenous. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, the Canaanite word for water is our word for water.
I'm just kidding. I was thinking that, but
water.
That's English. So America, even the English speaking people, the white people came over here, they're not indigenous. So how did we end up speaking English when the people that speak English is not even from America.
But what is indigenous?
Why we watch Roots in the show speaking Arabic language, Allah and all that in
Did,
Roots? Why wouldn't we
did the
speak in
Europeans
American English language? I mean, I understand they lie, but what they would have to lie, we know this is not the land of milk and honey. There's nothing here. It was something here. Everybody would be coming here to conquer. And nobody coming here. We going to Africa, so it don't make sense.
Yep. What is indigenous? By definition, right? You have two, I won't say two meanings, right? But two contexts to the word, to the meaning, right? The first context is produce, growing, living, or occurring natively or naturally in a particular region or environment, indigenous plants. So the first context of this deals with plants and natural life that grows from the earth. The second context says usually indigenous of, relating to, or descending from the earliest known inhabitants of a place, and especially of a place that was colonized. So in this context, indigenous means that basically you was there before the white folks got there. All right. Relating to or descending from the earliest known inhabitants of a place. Right. Were the so-called Mongols among the earliest inhabitants of this land we call America? Would y'all say that yes or no? Or would y'all consider them to be among the oldest inhabitants of this land?
I would say if they were, they wouldn't like. I think there was a more darker complexion that came here. Yeah.
Okay. I can understand that, but you would say they were nonetheless, right?
Oh yeah, I think they were. Yeah. We even got pictures of dark skinned people looking like the Mongols that's here. So yeah.
So long story short, indigenous in this context would means basically you was in the land before it was colonized. So with that understanding, would it be safe to say that they are indigenous?
was they?
The so-called natives.
I would say yeah. Whoever they were, I would say yeah.
Whoever,
I mean,
whoever
I don't have no fight about this land. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Right. Whoever was here when the English speaking or the Spanish people started colonizing, yeah, they are indigenous. But we heard the story goes like they brought slaves over here with them. So how is we indigenous?
Who you talking about?
The French.
The French brought slaves with them. So that would be colonization, basically, during the time of colonization.
Right.
Right. So that wouldn't necessarily count, but y'all remember the last one we did, Kadar, when we showed them Native Americans, their DNA was 90% Native, 12% Asian, 2% African. Y'all remember that? And these are the ones we call the Mongols, and they was whited out or whatever.
Yeah.
They're the ones, their DNA is 90% Native, 80% Native.
Uh-huh. This is where black people that claim to be Native American, they don't want to do the DNA. But they'll say, I watched the one you put on Facebook. The dude said 3 people was found in America, and they date back, I forget, 1,000 of years, and it says that DNA is Native Americans. And my thing is, if they Native Americans, then won't you do your DNA?
Right. Exactly. I mean, like I said, because, and that's a good point, right? The issue is not you believing you native or anything like that. You know, if you say that's the case with you and you can prove it, okay, then we have to go with that. But why are so many of people who claim to be native and indigenous, when they go the DNA route, they find out something different? Not saying that you don't have no Indian in your blood, because there are some people who may have a small percentage, right? But why, when we go that route, we seeing something different? That's the only point of contention. Now, hold on. I'm trying to get this this thing pulled up here. Now, this is also under fair use. The Olmecs. Look at that. Kadar, the Olmecs. This is also under fair use, but these are some DNA results. This brother got his DNA tested, right? And once again, this is fair use. It's public. He shared it, so this is the only reason why I'm sharing it, not to be, you know, rude or invade nobody's space or anything. South Africa, Southern Bantu people, 1%. Southeast Asia, Northern Central Philippines, 1%. Iberian Peninsula, Northern Spain, 1%. West Africa, Nigeria, 27%, right? Ivory Coast, 18, Mali, 14, Benin, Togo, 11. And I'm sure that most of us, when we get our DNA check, it's going to sort of probably look like this. It's going to be spread out, you know, and databases may vary, you know, or it may vary from database to database, and it may vary over time as well. We talked about that earlier, Kadar. Remember? You wanna break that down some? All right, your sound out. Your sound messing up again.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So earlier we talked about that and how when you do your blood work, it's also a GPS. So if you, like some people say, I don't trust blood work, right? What they say. So if you do your blood work today, like I did mine, let's see mine. 52% Nigeria, 9% Sierra Leone, 8% West African, and on, right? Majority, my blood work all come from that part of the world until we went into slavery. Now, on my mama's side, when we went into slavery, it took us to a whole group of people left and went into what you call Wales, Spain, Portugal area. My daddy's side, they left and came straight to North Carolina, what it says, right? So you can follow your blood work. Now, if you do your blood work today, if you're saying that you got over, like I said earlier, hundreds so thousand people out of Nigeria left, possibly a lot of your blood that's there left. And then when you do the blood work 10 years later, and it says a big percentage is in America, That people think when it says America, you automatically got white in your blood. Remember, we left and came in through the slave trade. You got to look and see where your blood started at and where it end up at. Because it says, this is another thing. Because it says 5%, let's say, Mexican, right? Who in the way this guy is? Oh, we got an indigenous person. Hope he come on there.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the link in the chat. But go ahead.
So we got 5% Mexican, right? We left. A lot of people left and came to this part of the earth world, right? So when they did that, do that mean when they did that, do that mean that we actually Mexican? Are we descendants of Spain and indigenous people that were here? No, it don't mean that. It mean our blood. We came down here. Matter of fact, if you go to Brazil, what do you see? The largest population of E1B1A in Brazil is in America. You see that, and that's what we getting.
It's like Brazil got the largest black population too, outside of Africa. You know. But y'all got any thoughts? Any of y'all, the brother, got any thoughts? I'm gonna get some more stuff, bring it up. I think like I said, we want somebody to come on who can prove that we as Negroes are indigenous to America. And by indigenous, that means we was here prior to colonization. Right? We was here prior to colonization. And once again, my contention is not, whether it's the case or not, is whether we can prove it. Right? Dark-skinned people are indigenous in all the lands all over the earth. But by means of migration, everybody came from one central location. And this is why when you look at mostly everybody who traced their DNA, they trace back mostly everybody who's so-called black or have black in them. Let me just say that. You see these different percentages, right? He's not the only one. All right, there are other ones. Let me do this. Let me remove this, and I'm gonna look up some other ones. But at what point do we look at genealogy in its fullness, in its full meaning, right? If we want to say, we're tracing our genealogy, how are you fully tracing your genealogy without going by DNA? Right? There are people who, through DNA analysis, connected with ancestors, or not ancestors, relatives rather, on the African continent, people who they discovered that they're related to through their DNA. They've proven a lot of things. That's how you validate it, right? But what's going on, Brother E?
Shalom, Brother Hebrew. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you good.
Blessings to you. Blessings to the panel. Much respect, guys. Blessings to the chat. When you finish, I want you to bring up a scripture.
Go ahead. What you got?
Genesis chapter 15.
Oh, you late. You real late. I got you though. We can bring it back up.
Okay.
So let's just see how the spirit moves, because it ain't just me, right?
Yeah, I was doing some yard work. I come in and now I see you guys on. So
okay. Love yard work. Cutting that grass.
Yeah, I was pulling down branches, all kind of foolishness.
Yeah.
I gotta earn my keep around here. I don't want to get put out.
Man, I feel you. It puts you in a different zone, though. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so where is
Genesis 15.
where is it? Where is it? Where is it? No of a surety. Where what is it? 13? No.
Yeah, it's
And
13.
said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Now, either you believe the scripture or you don't, right? Now, if the Most High said that you will be in a land, right, and a stranger in a land that is not yours, then that means this can't be our land, because this is the place, this is Mystery Babylon, this is spiritual Egypt, and this is where we've been serving these people for over 400 years. So either the scripture is wrong and the Most High, don't know what he's talking about, or the scripture is true and this not our land. So that's all I wanted to say.
Indeed. And we said that when you say you're indigenous and this is your land, you're basically going against what the Most High said.
Right.
And it's a major distraction. A lot of these people come out of the conscious community. These are the same people who was getting duped by Polite and all these different people, buying their books and not getting them. Buying their books and not getting them.
Now, the situation, I understand where some people are coming from. They feel we're owed something for being here so long, and had it not been for Israel, this nation would have never come to the strength and the power that it obtained.
Right.
But that's only because the blessing is on true Israel.
Exactly.
The scripture says, all nations will be blessed because of Abraham's seed. Everywhere we go, everywhere we've went, those nations only prospered because we were in those lands. And it was our blood, sweat, and tears and our ingenuity and our inventions that made those nations prosper. To this day, they prosper because of what we've done. You understand?
Indeed.
So
would you say that would even apply to the Native Americans? Because when our people linked up with them, what happened? Didn't they thrive and prosper? And that may have had a lot to do with why whites changed the rules and removed so-called blacks from tribes, out of Indian tribes, because they was given citizenship. Well, not citizenship. They was given tribal citizenship,
right,
land, and all this stuff was going on, oftentimes during chattel slavery.
Right.
During the time frame of chattel slavery. So think about black people leaving the plantation, right? Linking up with them or being sold, because a lot of Europeans sold some of their slaves to the Indians.
Yes. It reminds me of when we were back in Egypt, right? It's the same foul spirit. The Europeans here made a deal with the indigenous, right? And it reminds me when the Pharaoh said, the nation of Israel are stronger and mightier than we. Let us matter of fact, can you bring it up? I hate to misquote the scripture. It's I'll have to come off of here, find it.
Exodus.
Exodus
1:8.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I got it up for you.
Okay, let me see. Let me see. Now there rose up a new king over Mizraim, and he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Yasharal are more and mightier than we. Come, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us. So get them up out of the land.
Hmm.
This is the same spirit. They always plotting and scheming against us.
Hmm.
You understand? It's the same thing.
It says, now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph, and he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel more mightier than we. All right, when it comes to this plot, this scheme you're talking about, Sister 78 Vet made a point a while back. She said that the Ish people are probably, behind this, and there's no doubt they behind it, because this stuff is all of a sudden so heavy in the algorithm. Here we are struggling. I don't know. I guess the content that bad, but heavy in the algorithm. All of a sudden, right? And it's all in an attempt, because you even have those of our people who believe and know that we're Israel who go along with this. So the powers that be are plotting to keep us from acknowledging who we really are, and where our land is really at, and what really belongs to us, to keep the judgment, right? To prolong the judgment, or to get us to fall in the judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I know I said a lot, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also goes back to somebody find the scripture for me. I know it's Baal, and I know part of it is when Moab was trying to get Baal to curse Israel, but there's a specific where it says the only way you'll defeat these people is if they turn their back. I'm paraphrasing because I don't know where the scripture is. For whatever reason, I don't know why it's losing me, but it says the only way you'll be able to defeat these people is if they turn their back on their God. If somebody could find that scripture for me, I would appreciate it.
And if they
but
start,
it's the same. It's the same. All of it is all under the same foul spirit. Get them to be degenerate, right? Get them not to follow the Lord's statutes and commandments. Take away their identity. Your name is Toby. It's not Kunta. Make them forget who they are and where they come from. Take them from their land. Give them European Christianity. Do everything you can to make sure these people stay at the bottom. Because once they rise and come into the knowledge of who they are, that's it for the Gentile heathen.
I think what you want is in Numbers, but I don't remember exactly where it is.
If somebody in the chat knows where it is, please help me out.
Where he told them if they lust with the Midianite women.
I can't remember it verbatim, but I know he tells Balaam tells the person that's the only way you'll defeat them is if they fall away from their law, statutes, and command. I know I'm paraphrasing it, but I can't remember it word for word.
Or you could be talking about in Judith, where they were getting ready to go up against Judea, and he told them basically if if they're out of favor with the Most High and sinning against them, then you can go up, you know.
No, I know about, no, it's not that one. It's not that one. He literally, I know.
Hey, look at Kings 8:33 or 2 Chronicles 7:19-20. It might be talking about that.
Which one?
Kings 8:33. I'm sorry.
Turn my computer on.
First Kings.
Yeah. First Kings
8:33.
Yeah. See what that says.
It says, when thy people Israel be smitten down before the enemy, because they have sinned against thee.
Yep.
Now, this is the prayer. This is what you're talking about.
Then 2 Chronicles 7:19-20 might what we're talking about.
Let me see. Let me see. It says, when the people of Israel be smitten down before the enemy, because they have sinned against thee, and shall turn.
Well, y'all do this real quick.
And confess and pray, make supplication unto thee in this house. No, that's not it. It's all falls around on the same thing, but that's not it.
All right, y'all look it up real quick. And what I want to do right now, I want to show y'all what it's like engaging with people who believe we're indigenous. All right. I'm gonna have to slide this over. All right. Can y'all see that? Yeah. All right. So a lot of these people don't want to come. They don't want to come to the open. They don't want to debate, you know. So, you know, one dude, I got on his thread and I told him that you have to do your DNA to determine your bloodline. He says, blessings. DNA doesn't work like that. You have to do your paperwork, genealogy, right? I said, can you tell me how DNA works then? He says, one is based on databases to which provide statistical likelihoods rather than definite proof, while genealogy is the study of family history and ancestry, involving the traces of lineages through historical records, DNA analysis, right? I know he copied and pasted this, and oral interviews, right? So genealogy is a collection of all of this. Not only likelihoods, historical records versus statistical likelihoods, which are you going to have more confidence in, right? Historical records versus statistical likelihoods. Now, when you get your DNA trace, and it lets you know that your DNA is mostly from this region or a percentage of this from this region, is that a statistical likelihood? Or is that an overall reflection of where your people are and where your people migrated from? A statistical likelihood is saying that if you get your DNA trace, it's likely that you might come back as a Chinese man or something, or somebody of another race, right? The statistical likelihood of your DNA tracing you to somebody that you don't belong to is probably not going to happen. Could it have it? Maybe so. Maybe somebody can prove me wrong with that. But how many cases do y'all know of where people went and got their DNA trace and they found out that their DNA linked them to a group of people that they really not related to? Have y'all heard of that before?
Never heard of it.
Anybody in the chat? But I want y'all to see how they use words, phrases to try to throw you off, right? He asked me, what am I going by? I said, I'm going with the DNA proof, which is more accurate. Your understanding of how DNA works is clearly in error, and seeing that genealogy includes DNA analysis, how can you sum it up to mere statistical likelihood when DNA analysis is the core mechanism of genealogy? Now, when I said that his understanding of DNA is in error, I'm not saying that his copy and paste definition is wrong. I'm saying that his understanding of how that applies is in error. He's trying to diminish it by saying that DNA only gives you a statistical likelihood. But I'm saying that DNA is the core of what genealogy is, of proving or solidifying your genealogy. He said, I say modern genealogy. Now, this is what I copy and pasted. Modern genealogy frequently utilizes DNA testing. Y'all see that? Frequently utilizes DNA testing, genetic genealogy, to confirm, right? This is what the DNA is for, because outside of this, it's only theory. You can say my great grandmother has a record, right, that shows that her grandfather was full-blooded Cherokee, right? And you take that record and you go before any officials or whatever, and you say, I'm Cherokee, and you show them this record, and they see that record, and they're going to say what? What are they going to say after that?
Take your DNA, probably.
To do what? To confirm it.
Yeah, like they did in 1938. Yep.
It says breakthrough research, brick walls, and discover, confirm, or disprove biological relationships. So this is another thing that DNA does. It disproves people saying that they're related to people that they're not really related to. So it's like the final nail in the coffin. It says by analyzing autosomal DNA, Y-DNA, or mtDNA, individuals can connect with distant relatives. Like I told you, the lady says she connected with relatives on the African continent. You can verify ancestors and estimate ethnic origins. Why? Because a lot of DNA is mixed. You see a lot of people with different things in their DNA. But through that, you can still determine your ethnic origin. Right? It says, I'm just going to when he was responding to me. He says DNA is based. Now, I went back and I had to find this thread, and just so y'all know, he edited some things out of this conversation. He took some comments out. There were some things I asked him, you know, and he deleted it. Just like he put an article in this thread that talked about a girl. It talked about the oldest remains of Native American that they found, the oldest Native American remains they found, and how the scientists theorized that they came from Africa or Australia. But through DNA analysis, they concluded that that they were indigenous to America. Hey, y'all cut me off at any time if y'all want to add something. I'm just reading through this. But he deleted that comment because after he put that comment up, I zoned in on when it said that through DNA analysis they concluded that the remains were native to America after theorizing that they were from Africa or Australia. And I asked him if they concluded through DNA analysis that this woman was indigenous to America, what would your DNA conclude? And he deleted that. But this is his response. DNA is based on a broad landscape of global populations, proving estimates, right? He highlighted that, of geographic origin and ethnic background, although they cannot fully capture cultural identity or race. What you think about that? What y'all think about that? What do y'all think about, and I'll stop it right here, open it up. What do y'all think about the concept of DNA does not reveal cultural identity?
That's what proof do you have that it don't though? You see what I'm saying? That's impossible. That's what it's for.
Cultural identity.
Yeah.
Shalom Zadok. DNA don't reveal cultural identity. I know Kadar, I told that to Kadar the other day. And this is funny, man, because what does that mean exactly? What y'all think, Kadar and Brother E?
Yeah, I was waiting on him.
In reference to ask your question again. I'm sorry.
I was saying, what do y'all think about people saying DNA don't reveal cultural identity?
I'm to be honest with you, I don't know enough about DNA to give a comment. I know if you're denying to take a test, you're trying to hide something. You know, but I can't say that DNA tells the whole story. I think it's significant enough to tell a story, but to say, to tell everything about a person and where they're from because of being scattered, it's for me, I can't say it's the end all be all, if that makes any sense.
Well, it's not, I wouldn't call it the end all be all, but I would call it the most efficient way of determining the outcome, because your DNA is not going to tell you, oh, this man played the guitar,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think they understand that question you asked. What he's saying. He's saying that it's DNA blood test going to tell you if you play basketball, football, the guitar, the piano. Remember?
Right.
So the DNA don't tell you that. It just tells you.
I don't discount DNA. I just don't know enough about it to.
Yeah, but Eve, listen to
give a.
Eve, listen to the
have
question.
a conversation.
But Eve, listen to the question.
I'd rather learn some
Can
more
you hear
before
me?
I
Can they hear me?
make any.
Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Can you hear Kadar, Brother E?
No, I don't hear him at all.
That's what's going on.
He's talking?
Yeah.
Oh man, they doing this to me again.
Yeah.
Let me go out and come back in. I can't hear nothing.
Okay.
Oh man. So the question is the DNA, right? It's not really some. What y'all think about this question? The question is, do DNA reveal your culture? What you doing, right? We know our DNA traces back to Africa, and we probably ain't doing nothing what our ancestors done 3,000 years ago in Africa. No, it don't reveal that. That's stupid. That don't even make sense. And even within your own kids that we have today, when I look at me, myself, my DNA do not reveal me and my son because it was totally different. He's not like me in that aspect. He's my son because my DNA tells me, I do DNA all my kids. But that's what Eric is asking. But the question do sounds hard, but it's not hard at all. Remember, it's talking about culture. What your ancestors did long time ago. Do the DNA reveal that? No, it shouldn't reveal. That don't even make sense. And this is what so-called fake Indians, black folks, is putting their debate on. This is why they won't come on and debate or prove that they are the Native American, because they have nothing. If that's all they have, it don't even make sense. DNA don't even reveal what white people did before, but history do.
Exactly. Bro, T, you had something?
Yeah, I'm glad y'all explained it because I was way off with it. I'm thinking like you know, when you said culturally, the first thing I think about is stuff that we can identify with. Like, chicken. I love chicken, the Africans love chicken. You know what I'm saying? So DNA reveal that. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm glad y'all broke that down. Thank you.
Let me simplify it
Y'all
like
niggas love chicken.
let me simplify it like this, right?
All right.
We like Kadar said, we know our ancestors come from Africa or from that continent, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the region, the area in the earth that our people originate from, right? We live in American culture now. Within this culture that we live now today, a man can identify as a woman, right? A woman can identify as a man. A man can identify as a bandicoot or whatever, right? You say I'm a bandicoot, and people have to acknowledge that. Pronouns and what have you, that's part of the culture. But when that man who identifies as a woman dies, 200 years, they dig up his remains. His remains is not going to tell him that, oh, this man lived as a woman or he was a transgender, unless there's something in his coffin. Forgive me for saying this, no, I ain't gonna say that. Never mind. Y'all get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
You open the coffin, oh man, he got a butt plug in there or something, Now you can determine what culture he lived, but his biology, this was a full-blooded male participating in Sodom and Gomorrah.
Debauchery. Bati boy business.
He's like, what is this doing in here? Oh, the ancients did this. Oh, they doing that now. It's called debauchery, like you said. That's the culture, right? But your DNA not gonna say that. See, y'all get it now?
Yep.
Now, says although they cannot fully capture cultural identity or race, what race? What? That's a socio political construct, race. So
Shalom Yanakota.
Yeah, you can argue that. It says accuracy and limitations. Results are estimates, not absolute truth, and are heavily influenced by the size and diversity of the testing companies. Database, often overrepresented with European ancestors. What you think about that comment, Kadar? I'm gonna read it again. It say accuracy and limitations. Results are estimates, not absolute truth. Right. So if you get your DNA tested and it say that your people come from Africa, that's not an absolute truth. It says, and are heavily influenced by the size and diversity of the testing company's database, often overrepresented with European ancestry. What you think about that?
Yeah, what they trying to say here is European are lying and saying we come from Africa, but this is our land here. My thing is this: let's go by their logic. This is our land. So what you gonna do to give it back?
Well,
So European saying this is our, coming out trying to say this is our land. Go get it back. This is my thing. I would say to them also when they teach us about the way they enslave us, they give us a little bit. They didn't give a lot in school, right? If you read if you like I asked you, I would love to. Do you believe in the Bible? That's another thing, right? Because we know the only people we can find that fit the descriptions of the slave trade around the world is us. So if they believe in the Bible, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It don't even make sense. But they don't. They must. There's no way they can believe in the Bible. But when they saying this, oh, this is limitation resort as an estimate, not absolute truth. When the scripture tells us that the first man and woman come from Africa. So they got to say the first man and woman come from America. Come on, man.
it says that he's trying to say that their database is heavily influenced or overly represented with European ancestry. Now, could this be, how a lot of people get their DNA and you see some Spain or you see some part of Europe somewhere in there. Do people mistake that for you having white people in your family somewhere down the line? We know that that's
all the time. When the DNA is traveling, you're right.
I don't see how you could say these databases are heavily overrepresented by European ancestry when they don't have a deep ancestry. It says limitations because DNA is inherited randomly. Wow. You may not inherit DNA from all of your ancestors, meaning your report may not show a small percentage. What does that mean? Right? Because this is the thing. I guess this is when they go by the records, right? Because you'll hear people say, my great granddaddy was a full-blooded Cherokee, right? Full-blooded Blackfoot, right? But then you do your DNA, and you don't even have no relation to them DNA wise. Right? So who inherits that DNA?
When they do that, this is how a lot of black people don't believe in DNA, because a lot of black people calling themselves indigenous, they did the DNA, it didn't add up. Like the light skinned girl did. Then they say, don't do your DNA, I don't believe in it. So you gotta go by your last name. My last name is Scales now. How in the world, y'all, I'm a trace of Scales to me? Can y'all, I can trace the Scales in slavery on to me. But as a blood, how can I do that? I can't. When you follow Scales, you go back to Europe, and they own some indigenous. Because remember that guy that said he was so many percent black and Native American, the light skinned dude, the little guy that was on that video. Yeah. His last name was Scales too.
Yeah,
and that's what he said.
Yeah. So is this saying like, okay, like you might have a sibling, right? Let's say you got 4 siblings, and one of the siblings get their blood tested. Like you and your sister are not gonna have the same exact match when it comes to percentages. So one of your siblings may have 1 or 2% Indian or Native.
Mm-hmm.
Is this what that's talking about?
Do you think that's what talking about? That you might have so many different percentages within your own family?
When it
Yeah,
says
so much.
when it say DNA is inherited randomly,
That's what
because
they trying to say. Yeah,
this the
but,
thing. Hold on, let me say this.
yeah,
If you want to say DNA is inherited randomly, then when every Negro get their DNA check and it's over 50% African, 6% African, right, or 60% Nigerian, 30% uh uh West African or another region in West Africa, then you can't say that that's random. You see what I mean? If every Negro, like, the percentages vary. So, Brother Kadar, you might have 70% Nigerian. I might have 50% Nigerian. You see what I mean? But that's still not random because of the percentage being so large. Now, I might have 1 or 2% Native. I never did my DNA. I might have 1 or 2% Native. Right? You might have none. You see what I mean? But the larger, and that would make that random on my part, that 1 or 2%. But you and me not related. We not brothers, like blood brothers like that. But in the case that we was, that, because that does happen. That can happen, and that's how you find out, that you got Indians somewhere down the line, or maybe your mama slept with John Redcorn. I don't know. But what y'all think though? Y'all got any more thoughts? I'm gonna keep reading this. That John Redcorn thing went over y'all heads, huh? It's all right. Y'all don't watch King of the Hill.
I was over here laughing. I didn't want to be laughing all while you talking. I knew exactly what you're talking about. Go ahead, I guess.
Oh, John Redcorn. Now, it says, while DNA is a tool for establishing bloodlines, listen to this. This is what he's saying. While DNA is a tool, for establishing bloodlines, its flaws through contamination and the possibilities of questionable results can alter data. Therefore, it cannot be relied upon as the core mechanism of genealogy. Now, it says its flaws through contamination, and the possibilities of questionable results can alter data. Like, what type of contamination? When you get a DNA result, what would be considered contamination as a means of not getting a good result back? How could you contaminate a DNA test? It says, therefore, it cannot be relied upon as a core mechanism of genealogy, but it is. It says these ancestry swabbers are charlatans, and if you paid your money, then I'd like to offer you a deal on oceanfront property in Arizona, right? That was his shot at me. I said, before we start to insult each other's intelligence, you are still unclear on DNA. If DNA is based on the broad landscape of global populations, how does that make it inaccurate? You see what I'm saying? If my DNA is taken and it traces me to a population, right? A population here and a population there. How is that inaccurate if it's based on global populations? Or what would be the inaccuracy? You see what I'm saying? Like, has anybody ever taken a blood test to see if a child was theirs and had to take another one? Maybe so, you know.
And you know what? That right there is a true statement. When you look at the global populations, right? And listen, anybody's indigenous, right? When they start talking about they found bones in America and it was a black man, how do they prove that, y'all? How do they prove that that's a black man bones found in America? This is what cuts. That's why they won't come on and debate this. Because we could play that video and they would definitely agree. The bones in America. Oh, they say indigenous. I said, wait a minute. You say you don't believe in blood work. You see?
Yeah.
This is the part where this is why they will not come on and defend their cause. And this is why the Mongols is claiming that this land is destroying them. Right? That video, the Mongols probably made that video. And the problem is, I don't know if it did or not, but the problem is they have to use DNA to try to say black people was in this land first. The problem, I had no problem with that. But then do your DNA then. Why you believe, how you gonna believe a DNA of somebody over 1,000 years, but you don't believe your DNA, you ain't gonna live 50 years at the most. Come on, man.
Yep. Say, how do you determine, you know, but in all fairness, when it comes to the bones, right? It's like with if you research Dr. Samuel Morton, you know, he did the bones, digging up the skeletal remains and classifying all of the different skeletal remains based on the structures and everything. And so if somebody was to challenge what you just said, Brother Kadar, you know, just know that they were able to determine that from bone structures. But in our current time, like it says, like we just read, current genealogical analysis is done by different means, but DNA being one of those means, right? Because DNA is a more efficient way. And if you want to be even more clear with DNA, if you get your blood, particularly your blood is the most accurate, right? So, you know, when you're dealing with saliva and all this, you know, don't kiss your dog before you get your DNA done. I'm just gonna advise you that if you tongue kiss your dog and all that, don't do that before you get your DNA done, because it might show you have dopamine or something. All right, but your blood is
dopamine.
Yeah, because you know some people do that kind of stuff. Then they go get their DNA done. Oh, see, it says I'm have Dalmatian. And then they go discredit the DNA test.
A guy told me one time he don't believe in DNA. I want y'all to listen to this. He said they did a DNA on the lizard, and it said the lizard comes from that part of the world near Africa. I'm like, so what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
You see that? These people, black people, are messed up. Why not? That can't be true. I believe that. So what?
Right, don't people buy exotic lizards all the time as pets? That's not in this part of the world. Have them in cages and as pets and all this kind of stuff. Fish, different types of fish. You know, we talking about life, right? It says seeing that race is a social construct. DNA deals with biology, ethnicity, and ancestry of a person, right? We know race is a social construct. So with DNA, you can know and understand your ancestral origin. If DNA is a tool for establishing bloodlines, Why not trace the DNA in your bloodline to determine your ancestry? Right. And then I asked him another question. Are you full-blooded Native Indian, right? American/American? He never answered this question. So I'm gonna go down. Now, this is where our conversation picks up again, because he brought up what's his name? Arthur Kessler. Y'all remember Arthur Kessler's book, The 13th Tribe, saying that well, let me rewind. First, I brought up how accurate DNA is, to the point where it's being discredited today in Israel, right? And y'all know that whole jazz. His way of discrediting that was telling me that Arthur Kessler's book revealed that these people weren't the people years ago, and they didn't use DNA back then, right? So that was his way of discrediting me, saying that DNA is illegal today in Israel. But what he don't know is during Arthur Kessler's time, it was no secret that these people weren't the real people. That was all, all during that time, it was already known and established that they weren't the people during that time. Everybody knew that. Even my grandmother told me her daddy was a Jew. Everybody knew the Jews, those weren't the real people. It's over time, them taking over media, them taking over nations. Now all of a sudden it's believed that they're the people, right? So my response to him was, they didn't use DNA during his time, talking about Arthur Kessler's time. And that has nothing to do with the article you posted, because remember the article I told y'all he posted. It says the article you posted says that it was concluded through DNA that she was native to America. You say that you are not a genetic African. If that is true, I have no issue with that. My only question is, how did you conclude that you are not a genetic African? Everybody understand that, right? His response was this. See how things can be easily discussed. He was real. This dude, I think he kind of on the flip wrist side, but it says that the word is generic, right? Trying to correct me. It says generic refers to products, terms, or concepts that are common, general, or unbranded, often imitating more expensive brand name items. They are characterized by lacking a specific brand, blah, 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 blah. All right, now this is what I want to pick up, right? Most of the conscious community has proven through documentations of birth certificates, marriage papers, numerous forms of court records, and census data that we are more indigenous to the Americas, right? So what do y'all see in this? It says most of the conscious community has proven this through documentations, birth certificates, marriage papers, numerous forms of court records, and census data, right? That we are more indigenous to America. My great grandfather, now remember, all I asked him was, how did he conclude? The article that he posted said that they concluded that this woman was native to America through DNA. He removed that post. Now I want him to tell me how he concluded that he's not a genetic African. He says, my great grandfather had paperwork dating back to the early 1800s, because when I was on my Pan-African movement phase in late 70s, he was able to reel me in at an early age when I insisted that all Black people are from Africa. Big G Pop. Never can forget his humor in the idea. My lineage is Massachusetts, Nipmuc fam, although I'm not one who jumps through hoops in its regards. Not that I'm not proud of my heritage. It's just that the picture is much broader. I've got to remember that Africa doesn't or didn't keep birth records and jurisdictions that are recognized today weren't of such in the early 18th century. Now, this is the thing. You see this, Kadar?
Yes.
He said Africa didn't keep birth. How do we know that?
You keep birth records and jurisdiction countries that are. See, he's lying. He's lying big time. And,
How do you know that?
Yeah, he don't. And you know they don't believe in the database because the database tells us where we come from, but they don't want to believe in that. So how in the world Native American kept birth rights and all that?
Yeah. Of course, Yannico Arthur Kessler was an Ashkenazi Jew. Of course, he knew they weren't the people. All of them know they're not the people. All right. You know how many people from Africa I've heard talk about how they don't have any more information, any records concerning their birth and all that. It ain't because they didn't keep records. It's because that when these Europeans come in and colonize these African regions, they remove all of that stuff. They removed all of that stuff. There's a lot of African people who lost a lot of their information due to that. So you can't say that they didn't keep birth records. Every nation has birth records, even if it's word of mouth. It says somewhere that didn't officially exist when my big G-pop had countless documentation. How can I prove birthrights, land allotments, and lineage in a country that persists on these forms of legitimacy without this ability? We are proving, I don't want to say it, is this current government is operating on stolen property, and this is our inheritance. MLK was put in paperwork, Johnny Cochran was put in paperwork, and they can't kill us all. I'm a melanated brother, and y'all gotta be Africans, need to stop all that bucking and allow we to rise to our rightful place among our planet. Y'all, you, and we. Now, do y'all see this hashtag at the end of this? I want to say this real quick. All throughout this thread, we were going back and forth. He was putting this on the end of his post, right? And y'all already know what this is, right? This is a African Yoruba phrase. So I asked him, why do you keep posting this at the end of all of your posts, right? If you are native to America, ain't this a phrase that's Yoruba, African? And once again, he deleted that and never responded. So you talk about a cultural identity. I mean, an identity crisis, rather. An identity crisis. You're supposed to be native to America, but you're posting an African phrase at the end of all of your comments, but he deleted that. So I said, you're still not telling me how you found what you are genetically, right? It says, then you're not reading, comprehending very well, quick draw. That was his insult. It said, it appears that my families from claiming the African continent aren't very in tune to how things are done in the corporation. It's about that paperwork, documentation, characteristics, and classification is key. Now, what do we read? We read that the documentation, we read that the lineage, the birth certificates, and we read the DNA, right? All that's a part of it. It says there are government records that are going to be available. It's just about how one processes and proceeds. A lot of work, but doable. And the deeper we dig, the deeper the rabbit hole. Go ahead, Kadar. Then he posted this again at the end.
If we going by government records, we got government records prove that we came from Africa. It's crazy. If we going by that, their government records is not actually proving that the people came from Africa or the Native Americans here. That don't even make sense. I guarantee you, everything you pull up about the so-called Africans, they mix with the Native. A lot of them did, not a lot. The percentage is low, but they join in with the tribe. Actually, it was enslaved by a lot of them too. Which that's what you're gonna pull up. But what they do, they ignore that part. When you talk about the slavery of the Choctaw, the Cherokee, and the Blackfoot and all that towards so-called African Americans, they ignore that part.
Yeah.
So my question, that's why I would ask them. I like some of the questions I ask them. How can a people enslave you and y'all be the same people? And if that's the case, then when a white man enslaved us, are we the same people as a white man? Same thing.
I mean, some people would say some niggas act white, Oreos.
Yeah, they do. And especially the one that's chocolate black. I don't understand that. They got a identity crisis or color crisis or something. Look like Wesley Snipes talking about you got white in you. Stupid. Yeah. Crazy.
It be the blackest ones, huh?
Yeah. The light-skinned brothers, you can't make them say they got white in them. They're ready to fight you. You probably do. And they the one probably got white in them, but they're ready to fight you. If you tell them, oh, I think you got white in you, they're ready to fight you for that. But the ones that look like Wesley Snipes, you tell them they got white in them, oh, man, they love that. Oh, man, thank you, brother. They might give you some money if you say that.
Yeah, you got white in you on the bottom of your feet. That's about it. White as you go.
You remind me of this video I just seen last night. It was a rerun, and it was a Jerry Springer scene, clip, and it was the white woman sitting beside a black guy. So the black guy goes, "Baby, I got a confession to make." He said, "What is that?" He said, "Man, I'm white." She jumped up. "Oh my God, you liar! All the time."
I'm white. Who was he?
Yeah.
Clayton Bigsby.
Clayton Bigsby, yeah.
You gonna tell somebody you white? Get out of here. Niggas kill me with that. Hey man, you white, all right. But you don't look white. Well, see, brother, that's where you don't understand. Man, get out of here. Say the only way to find out what you are genetically is through genetic testing. Sounds like you've been digging through the wrong hole. Now, he deleted a lot of comments that it eliminates a lot of context to the conversation. This is why I say these dudes are cowards, man. This is the kind of stuff they do. But it says, wow, the acceptance of knowledge is not a given. It's a choice that must be desired. He says, don't ever share our past dialogue with anyone and allow them to read your last response. The mask will be off, right? I says, are you telling me that you found out your genetics from census, birth certificates, and newspaper clippings? He never replied. Now, this dude says, make sure, he told me the DNA test ain't no good. He said, if I do take one, make sure it's the Indian DNA test. He said, the others are BS. I said, don't know about that, but I do know many people personally who have found relatives, fathers, cousins, uncles, mother, etc. With modern DNA testing, is used to determine your true ancestry. It says you can use it to find people, but the African DNA is not in us. So what you're saying is not all the way true. You have done zero research, but think you know it all. All right. Then he posted his page. I went and looked on his page. bunch of indigenous propaganda, right? I'll just say, man, how the hell you gonna tell me something ain't true when I've seen it prove myself? He said that stuff ain't real, right? And then here I go. I say, can you prove your point in a live discussion? He says, definitely, right? He says, I gave you the link that will change everything for you. Probably won't look though. I'm sure of it. You want to still believe the lies. I says, will you be available this Friday? And look what he asked me. What do you have in mind? Now, what did I ask him before that? What the hell you think I have in mind? Drinking a beer with you?
Hey.
Going on a dinner date?
Brother.
See, D, what you say, Kadar?
Hey, brother, did you tag him in this video?
Yeah.
This guy's scared to come on and prove his point. He said the Indian, hold up. Now, he said the Indian DNA test. Y'all heard this guy?
Yeah.
Please take the Indian DNA test. I take it.
Exactly.
I'll take that one then. We can do that. Do you see how he gonna say the Indian DNA test, but he don't trust DNA? Now, what makes the Indian DNA test different from anybody else? But you know what? Come on, bro. I pay for it. I take the Indian DNA test. It's easy.
I'll tell you what make it different. They take your blood and they boil it in a pot, and they wave the feather of the ancestors over it, and if a little man come out of it, then that means you one of them. That's how they do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah, but you know what? But if this guy knew the Bible, he wouldn't be trying to claim this land. They don't know the Bible. That's the problem. If they knew what's supposed to come upon this land, they wouldn't be trying to claim it. But if you listening, bruh, we can do the Indian DNA test. I don't know what makes the Indian DNA test different from my heritage, African ancestry, whatever you want to do. We can do that, and I guarantee you ain't no Indian.
Stupid, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference if you got all these Native Americans now finding out they 90%, 80% Native American?
Yeah.
What's the difference? You got Negroes finding out they got Native American in their blood.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference?
Because he's lying.
But the Indian is gonna lie. Yeah, then they gonna smoke. He said they smoke a bud. After
yeah, you're right.
They put the dropped blood in a boiling pot, then wave the feather over it.
And see, you're right. So why not have you ever heard anybody, even now, you know, we talk about the Olmecs. I guarantee you heard none of them talk about the Olmecs yet. Have you heard that?
No.
That's sad.
No.
That way you have an argument with the Mongols. Because you got one Olmec that got his hat off and he's clear African, right? But that's why they won't talk about the Olmecs. Because the guy with the hat off, he's clear African. You can't deny that. Or what you call it, Australian, but they come from Africa. The Aboriginal Australian people.
Yeah.
That's what he looked like. But they come from Africa. So you see how the so-called black people never go back to the Olmecs. Y'all want to know why? Because when you look at the ones that got the head off, you know they come from Africa. Yeah. This is how much they hate Africa, y'all.
Yep. So let's finish this. I asked him up here, can you prove your point on a live discussion? He said definitely. When I asked him if he's available, he asked, what do I have in mind? We're going to play John Madden, right? Dummy. It's a live discussion about us being indigenous from Africa. That was 1 week ago. No response. All right. So that's how it is debating with these people. clear misunderstanding, clear misdirection, manipulation of words and understanding. And I'm gonna show one more thing, and it's gonna be the last thing on this, because like you said, nobody will come on and deal with this. But best believe we got sources for days, right? I can run you through a source right now that's dated back to the 1800s that shows the difference between the Native Americans and the blacks, and how the blacks united with the Native Americans. And yes, there was a point in history where black natives, were reclassified, but it was a reason behind that, right? Let me find this one video real quick.
Hey, look at Robert Yellett Sr. That's my cousin there. That's my cousin. But hey, Robert Yellett, look at that right there.
Dane Calloway.
Live. Now, he's another one that runs. Man, that dude runs. I told that dude I would debate him with my eyes closed.
Sure, we will.
He runs. He runs. I heard him debate a camp guy, but look what the camp guy believes. So he go hand in hand what he's saying.
Let me find this video real quick. Hold on. Okay, yeah. I want to show y'all, this is under fair use too, right? It's under fair use. I want to give y'all an example. Y'all remember that that video we did where we show how people twist sources? And we went back and we looked at the actual source that was used and we set it straight. I want to show y'all that this is a prime example of what happens, right? This is a dude named Mike TV, right? And I want to play this portion of the video where he's going to break down historically how so-called blacks were reclassified into Negroes from being Indians, right? Fair use. Let's check this out.
Let's talk about it. The Dawes Commission purposefully reclassified indigenous black people as freedmen. Here's a modern tribal testimony summarizing what the Dawes roll did. Quote, freedmen and their descendants were placed on separate sections of the Dawes rolls without degrees of blood, to have a class of citizens whose allotment land would have restrictions lifted earlier.
No sound.
Go ahead, E. You had something?
No, I don't hear no sound.
Did everybody hear that?
Yeah, I heard it loud and clear.
You need a new.
Yeah, I heard it.
Do you hear me, brother E?
Yeah, I don't hear anything. I hear you. I don't hear nothing.
Huh. I don't know, bro. You might have to click out and come back in.
Yeah, they just keep messing with me.
Sound like they're moving.
Oh, that mercy.
Everybody in the chat here.
Okay, they're just messing with me. It's okay.
But you can hear me, right? Oh, he clicked off. I know he just heard me. But I wanna play this back again because I want to get what he said. Listen to what he said. We're gonna slow it down, right? Fair use.
Indigenous black people as freedmen. Let's talk about it. The Dawes Commission purposefully reclassified indigenous black people as freedmen.
So he said the Dawes Commission purposely reclassified black indigenous as freedmen. All right. Now we already dealt with the history behind the freedmen. Right. The freedmen were who? The freedmen were the black natives or the black uh, a mixture basically of the blacks who were slaves and the Indians who mixed. The descendants of those mixtures, they were considered the freedmen later on. Prior to that, these people were adopted and enrolled fully into the tribes. They're trying to make it seem as though they basically took one group of people and basically called them a whole nother demographic of people. We know that happened to us, right? And the scriptures told us that would happen to us. But just understand that concept. This is why you keep hearing them saying reclassification. When our people mixed with the Native Americans, they were adopted into those tribes. Later on, they were reclassified and removed in some cases from those tribes.
Here's a modern tribal testimony summarizing what the Dawes Roll did. Quote, freedmen and their descendants were placed on separate sections of the Dawes Rolls without degrees of blood, to have a class of citizens whose allotment land would have restrictions lifted earlier. Freedmen and their descendants were placed on separate sections of the Dawes Rolls without degrees of blood.
It says freedmen and their descendants were placed on separate sections of the Dawes Rolls without degrees of blood, right? Now, I'm going to let this play out, and I want y'all to listen to how he explains that statement without degrees of blood. All right, fair use.
To have a class of citizens whose allotment land would have restrictions lifted earlier. End quote. That's literally the federal government admitting that they did not measure blood. They did not check genealogy. They simply sorted people by phenotype. Guys, this is paper genocide. It's not anthropology.
So his understanding or his explanation for when it says without degrees of blood was that they just separated the people without checking their blood, without checking their genealogy. Now, hold on. This is what I want to do. What does without degrees of blood mean? Let me see. Okay. So now, this is what without degrees of blood mean. What it said, he separated them on separate rolls without degrees of blood. This is what without degrees of blood mean. It refers to the concept of consanguinity, which is the relationship between individuals who share a common ancestor. In legal and genealogical contexts, this term is often used to describe the closeness of blood relations, typically terms of degrees, right? First degree, direct relatives such as parents and children. Second degree, siblings, grandparents, and grandchildren. Third degree, aunts, uncles, and first cousins. This concept is important in laws regarding marriage, inheritance, and family rights, as certain relations may be restricted or have specific legal considerations. So, without degrees of blood is basically saying that you're not related. Without degrees of blood. Brother E.T. back. Check your sound, bro. Brother ET, check your sound. Can you hear? Can y'all hear me, Brother Kador?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So now, another meaning, it says without degrees of blood refers to a relationship that is not based on consanguinity, right? This definition says it refers to the concept of it, but this definition says it refers to a relationship that is not based on it, meaning individuals are not related by direct descent from a common ancestor, right? This concept typically highlights that a relationship is legal or social rather than biological. Y'all see that? So without degrees of blood is basically saying that you're not related by blood. And this is why they, according to this article, I'm gonna put it back up what he said. Pull it back up.
So they spiritual Native Americans.
basically, right? I mean, it's true that, like I said, well, I'm not going to mention that part now because that's a whole nother discussion. But what I'm showing now is how they use and twist up sources. He's making you think that without degrees of blood means that they didn't check their blood, when without degrees of blood means that you're not related. And that's why they separated them and put them on a separate roll. If you were a freedman, that symbolized that you were mixed, more than likely, with Indian and African. And this is when they started to make the differences or the distinctions, because you had whites who was mixed with Indians as well. But listen to this.
Freedmen and their descendants were placed on separate sections of the Dawes rolls without degrees of blood, to have a class of citizens whose allotment land would have restrictions lifted earlier. End quote. That's literally the federal government admitting that they did not measure blood. They did not check genealogy. They simply sorted people by phenotype. Guys,
you see what I'm talking about, Kadar? Y'all see that?
Yeah.
How he took that out of context. Without degrees of blood don't mean that they didn't measure blood or phenotype or genealogy, right? Because if they separated them by phenotype, right? Ain't phenotype a part of that?
Most definitely that, because they check your phenotype and they check your nearest relative, or what you call facial structure.
So that means they did separate by those things, right? Because they knew that these people, the freedmen and the pure-blooded Native Americans, were not the same blood-wise. And I should show that video when they did them, tried to share them reparations. I will, but this is paper. This ain't that much. I just want to show the different sources. He gonna go through a few sources, and I want to show y'all how he misinterpret these sources.
For genocide, it's not anthropology. Come on. We've even got a quote from my tribe, a Muskogee historical summary, quote, "The commission separated registered intermarried whites and Creek freedmen. This ruined their claims to Creek membership later." Come on, y'all. You had intermarried whites infiltrating the tribes. You got the $5 Indians paying to be a part of the rolls. And guess what? Them intermarried whites got placed on the by blood roll. But if you failed the brown paper bag test, they tried to reclassify you as a freedman.
Now that's partly true, but they didn't infiltrate. You know, whites were intermarrying with a lot of these Indians. Say his voice is soft. But once again, this is not saying that or proving that we're indigenous to this land if you know the history of our people mixing in with them. Later on, this is when these things start to happen. You got to think about how much they made them prosper, the Native Americans and the blacks coming together, and in a lot of cases going to war against the whites. Economically, you know what that did.
Come on. Chito Harjo, famous Creek elder, in a 1906 Senate testimony said, quote, "They wanted my country. They were bound to take my country away from me. I have never had justice," end quote. Here's another quote for him. He explained how federal agents created a system where, quote, "they would send the half-breeds around hunting for the names of the full-blood Indians and present them before the Dawes Commission," end quote. You guys don't know that some of these Indian agents, some of these federal agents were half-breed sellout Indians that were trying to forcibly enroll and racially sort different tribal members. This was tribal liquidation, not African slavery. Come on. You got to understand that black residents outnumbered the people that they wanted to classify as by blood. So when we talk about this whole kicking the freedmen out of the tribes in the 70s and the 80s, guys, this was all about money. My tribe kicked the freedmen out in 1979. Do you know what's so prominent about that time period? That's when our tribe and a lot of other tribes started building casinos. Oh, shit. We got casino money popping, so we gonna kick out the black Indians because they're the majority of the tribe. They have the biggest voting demographic. They're in leadership position. But if we kick them out, then we can start doing some funny things with the casino money.
Your mic messing up, Kadar. But the thing about
I was saying that guy must don't know history because they were kicking out the black people in 1938 through blood work. That's how they got them out. So he don't know history. He talking about modern day, and they kicking out. They already been put out through blood work. Something that he probably don't believe in.
now people say they didn't do blood work back during a certain time, but why would blood work have been necessary back during certain times when things were more demographic based, you know, or more lineage based? You see what I'm saying? It's like you can look at Kadar, you can look at me, right? Yeah. And you can say, okay, y'all more than likely come from Africa, right? If you look at somebody mixed today, you don't need to do a DNA test on that person to tell that they have mixed blood in them. Back then, mixture was more, you know, it wasn't common between certain demographics. I'm not saying it wasn't common, you know, but within certain demographics, it wasn't that common up until certain points. When you look at blacks and Indians, right? You can look at that. You can look at black people now and tell, you know, just by some of their features if they have that in them or not. So just think about what it was like back then. You see what I'm saying? I've had that testimony where, you know, you meet people and they got these certain features. Ah, man, you know, and you get the breakdown. But you got any thoughts, bro? Any more thoughts, Brother T?
Not at the moment. Just listen to this guy, man. Wow. You know, like here we are again, man, at the same crossroad where you're saying all this stuff. You're not proving anything, and plus they don't have no receipts. It's just word of mouth. Like we talking about with the casinos. Okay, still economically, we're still the poorest race of people in this country. It's still a big, giant wealth gap. So what you know what I'm saying? Like this stuff. That's it. This is crazy, bro.
But then think about the curse of Deuteronomy and how a lot of our people use being Indian as a means, like y'all said earlier, to deny being who we really are, to say I'm not black, I ain't one of y'all, but you still going through these curses. And if you do the full genealogical research and test, you'll see that DNA wise, I'm not talking about culturally and what you can trace back to the 1800s, because in the 1800s, we were still here. We was here in this land. In the 1600s, we was here in this land, right? Where were we in the 1400s, 1300s, 1200s? You see what I'm saying? Where were we during those time frames? Can we go back that far? Because you're still dealing historically with a demographic of people. How far back can we go record-wise in this country to find, who our ancestors was, who this was, that was. Like I said, I'm sure most people can go look at one of those rolls and find somebody related to you that was on those rolls. How does that account for the whole of our people? Less than 1% of and this is just according to census, right? Less than 1% of so-called blacks have Native American DNA according to census. Right? Like this dude on the screen, he shows his tribal membership card. And if you look at the blood quantum part, it says 1-32. What would that imply alone? That would imply that there's some mixture somewhere in your lineage. Not to say you don't have that in you. People claim to have their great grandfather was a this or that, right? Well, somewhere along the line, there was some mixture, right? You are not a direct descendant of that. You mix somewhere along the line.
Just like if they can reclassify you as a freedman on the Dawes roll, they can short you on your land allotment. By blood, citizens often got 160 acres of land per person. If you're classified as a freedman, they typically only gave you 40 acres and per person you on your land allotment. By blood, citizens often got 160 acres of land per person. If you're classified as a freedman, they typically only gave you 40 acres. That's where the story of Sarah Rector and Sarah's oil comes from. She wasn't just the youngest, richest colored girl in the world in the early 1900s. She was a member of my tribe. She was a Creek Indian. And even though her ancestors were racially reclassified as freedmen, they got a land allotment, and that land allotment had oil beneath it. And now they're making a movie about it. Sarah's Oil, right?
So if you want...
Come on. And it's so crazy how I can give so many receipts and so many, and oh boy, couldn't cite a single one. Here's another quote. This is from a book. Since dumbass said that there was no texts and there was no receipts, here's a book called Indian Slavery in Colonial Times. This is written in 1913. Quote, the term slave, Negro, and Indian were used interchangeably. Enslaved Indians were often classified simply as Negroes, end quote. This is direct acknowledgement that Negro on a document does not prove African origin.
the thing about that, I have a document that sort of goes into detail about that and how they classified certain natives as Negro, but once again, these were amongst the mixtures, right? These were amongst the ones that was mixed. You know, you had African slaves mixed with Indians a lot during that time. Well, those who left the the slave plantations. You had certain Europeans who sold their slaves to Indians. So you're not even talking about a large percentage, right? But once again, that ties back into that whole understanding.
Come on. The freedmen of the 5 civilized tribes included Black Creeks, Black Cherokees, Black Choctaws, Black Chickasaws, Black Seminoles. Many of them were tribal by blood, clan affiliated. Some of them intermarried for generations, documented in tribal towns, but they're reclassified by federal agents to steal land. So insisting that all freedmen were Africans is not just historically false, it's repeating the same paper genocide narrative used to erase indigenous Black identity.
All right, so what was a freedman? All right. Who were the freedmen? Who were the freedmen? Let me just do it like this. I want a definition. Let me see. Let's see. Who were the freedmen? Get a definition.
Freedmen were nearly 4 million formerly enslaved African Americans, freed during and after the Civil War. They sought citizenship, education, and family reunification through the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment during Reconstruction.
It says transition to freedmen. I want to get to, it says thousands of enslaved people were held by Native American tribes, 5 tribes, and became known as freedmen. They were granted citizenship rights under treaties in 1866. While primarily used in the U.S. for newly freed people, the term can also describe persons freed from slavery through legal means like manumission. So the freedmen, he said that it's a lie to say that they were Africans, right? And if you go into other information, it tells you that they were a lot of times African slaves mixed with Native Americans. They were considered freedmen. They were separated by that means. You know, the freedmen were never considered full blood, right? Now they were putting whites on the roll as full-blooded to get land. All that's true. But then once again, if you think about, Brother E.T. brought up a good point earlier. He said, wherever we are, those nations thrive, those kingdoms thrive. So think about once again how the Native Americans thrived when they had us in slavery. And then once they released us and we became freedmen, right? We became free. We started to have land and you know, inherit things and pass those things down to generations. That's why you still have Black people today who own land in Indian territory. They had to bring an end to that. You know, you even had after slavery, some slaves was allotted land. All that land was taken because the enemy understands that that's the key to generational wealth. within this society. We understand it prophetically through our scriptures. That's why that's the first thing the Most High gave to Abraham was land. It said, this land is for you and your seed after you for an everlasting possession. That's how important it is. And when our people was able to link up and unite with a group of people who, you know, you can basically say they had a common enemy, but those Native American tribes adopted slavery just like the whites did. That's why they were able to be called civilized. Right? These are parts of the history, you know, that we're bypassing and throwing out the window. And we're showing all these pictures of Black people, you know, among Indian tribes, Black Native tribes. There were a lot of Black Native tribes, right? We should be able to trace ourselves back to those tribes, not just through documentation and those means. If we're related, right, then we should be able to prove it DNA wise. We should be able to show that. But y'all got any thoughts, bro? I guess I'll go ahead and shut this down. Kind of hungry.
I was gonna say, you know, these people talking about that this is their land, right? That's the argument. That this is their land, they're native to it, right?
Yeah.
That's where we at.
Yeah.
Okay. Why the hell their ass ain't over there fighting that damn war for their land then? Because you know, I mean, it's your land. I mean, the other nations are tearing it up right now. So your ass need to be out there. Tell Trump to send them guys back and y'all get your feathers on and your spears, whatever else y'all did when y'all was here, and go fight for your damn land. Because that's who on the table right now. Your land. So go fight for it.
Nobody's fighting. Nobody's fighting for this land. Nobody's
You
fighting
know,
for
call on their little carry them over there with their little gods. You know, do your little rain dance or whatever you do, and go fight
Yeah.
for your land.
Care about his
Might as
land
well.
so much. Go fight. You're right.
Yeah.
Check this out. This is a record right here, right? And this deals when they started to first take the census of the Negroes here in America, right? From slavery. And this just goes through the numbers. I'm gonna just try to breeze through this to get to some of the points to show you that during the 1700s, 1700s, 1800s, the Negroes and the Indians were not the same, although the whites pretty much dealt with them the same, right? This is North Carolina was permanently settled in 1650 and became distinct from Virginia in 1727. In 1701, it had 5,000 inhabitants besides Negroes and Indians, right? This is talking about North Carolina in the 1600s, 1700s. I'm going to go up again. Like I said, I'm going to just breeze through this. It says, in the persecution of the mission amongst the Cherokees and in the attempt to establish one amongst the Creek Indians, the Negroes dispersed among them were not forgotten. Our brethren at Spring Place had the gratification of baptizing the firstling of these Negroes in July 29, 1827. He was a native African of the Tuhumba tribe and was baptized into the death of Jesus by the name of Christian Jacob. They changed his name, continuing faithful to his Christian profession till his happy end. Right? Y'all see that?
Uh-huh.
All right, I'm just
Yep.
going to breeze through this. It says, this society was formed with the view primarily of supplying the destitution of religious instruction and privileges among the inhabitants of the North American colonies, members of the established Church of England, and secondarily of extending the gospel to the Indians and Negroes. Once again, you see a separation, right? It says they instituted inquiries into the religious condition of the colonies responded to by the governors and the persons of the best note, with special reference to episcopacy, and they perceived that their work consisted of three great branches: the care and instruction of our people settled in the colonies, the conversion of the Indian savages, and the conversion of the Negroes. Once again, you see a difference. Let's keep going. In June 1702, Reverend Samuel Thomas, the first missionary, was sent to the colony of South Carolina. The society designed, or the society designed, he should attempted the conversion of the Yamasee Indians. But the governor, Sir Nathaniel Johnson, appointed him to care for the people settled on the three branches of the Copper River, making Goose Creek his residence. He reported his labors to the society and said that he had taken much pains also in instructing the Negroes and learned 20 of them to read. So he had a hard time instructing the Indians and the Negroes. Let's keep going. Dr. LeJoux succeeded him in 1706 and found parents and masters endued with much goodwill and a ready disposition to have their children servants taught the Christian religion. He instructed and baptized many Negroes and Indian slaves. Let's keep going. It says the Indian War checked the progress of the society's missions for several years. The parishes of St. Paul, 1705, 1707, St. Andrews and St. Bartholomew, St. Helens received missionaries. Mr. Hassel was settled in the last name parish, and the inhabitants were, watch this, 565 whites, 950 Negroes, 60 Indian slaves, and 20 free Negroes. Once again, showing the distinctions and the difference. So you had 950 Negro slaves and 220 free Negroes, 60 Indian slaves. All right. Let's keep going. The society established also a cateching school in New York City in 1704, in which city there were computed to be about 1,500 Negroes, 1,500 Negro and Indian slaves. The society hoped their example would be generally followed in the colonies, right? 1,500 Negro and Indian slaves. Once again, making a distinction. It says after his removal, the rector, church wardens, and vestry of Trinity Church in New York City requested another, I don't know what that is, Kelkis, there being about 1,400 Negro and Indian slaves, and considerable number of them had been instructed in the principles of Christianity by the late Mr. No and had received baptism and were communicants in their church. Once again, Mr. Honeyman, missionary, 1724 in Providence, Rhode Island, had baptized in 2 years 80 persons, of which 19 were grown, 3 Negroes, and 2 Indians, and 2 mulattoes. Hold on, let's go back. It says and Narragansett, the congregation was reported to be 160 with 12 Indian and black servants, right? So does that denote a mixture? They was mixed, Indian and black. It says, huh?
So what it sound like?
It says Bishop Berkeley was in the colony of Rhode Island from 1728 till late 1730, and he also preached a sermon before the society February 18, 1731, in which he thus speaks of the Negroes. The Negroes in the government of Rhode Island are about half as many more than the Indians, and both gathered together scarce amount to 7th part of the whole colony. Y'all see that? The Negroes in the government are about half as many more than the Indians. The ancient antipathy to the Indians, whom it seems are first planters therein, as in certain other particulars, affecting, watch this, you're gonna like this, Kadar. This is where your lost tribes and promised lands come in. It say an ancient antipathy to the Indians, whom it seems are first planters therein, as in certain other particulars, affecting to imitate Jews rather than Christians. You see that, Kadar?
Imitate. Wow. Imitate.
It said this is what the Indians was doing. Affecting to imitate Jews rather than Christians. Imagine they had a right to tread on the foot of Canaanites or Amalekites together with an irrational contempt of the blacks as creatures of another species who had no right to be instructed or admitted to the sacrament. This is what they're saying about us. All right. I'm gonna keep going. It says in 1741, Archbishop Sector, after enumerating other successes, adds, in less than 40 years, great multitudes on the whole of Negroes and Indians brought over to the Christian faith. In 1737, Count Zinzendorf paid a visit to London and formed an acquaintance with General Oglethorpe and the trustees of Georgia, with whom he conferred on the subject of the mission to the Indians, which the brethren had already established to the colony. Some of these gentlemen were associates under the will of Dr. Bray, who had left funds to be devoted to the conversion of the Negro slaves in South Carolina, and they solicited the Count to produce them some missionaries for this purpose. Right. It says, let me see. Just once again, it's talking about the Indian Wars right here. I'm gonna keep going. The fact, however, is worthy of remembrance that while the Indians, some of whom received us as guests and sold us their lands, had almost no compensation at all, and others were driven back to make us room. Now, y'all see that? Right? With whom we had no frequent and bloody wars, and we became from time to time mutual scourges, received some eminent missionaries from the colonists, and had no inconsiderable interest awakened for their conversion. The Africans who were brought over and bought by us for servants, who wore out their lives as such, enriching thousands from Massachusetts to Georgia, and were members of our household, never received from the colonists themselves a solitary missionary exclusively devoted to their good, nor was there ever a single society established within the colonies that we know of with the express design of promoting their religious instruction. All right. Several annual conferences recommended a general fast and held March 1796, and in the enumeration of blessing to be invoked, the last mention was that Africans and Indians may help to fill the pure church of God. On settling of the brethren of Wachovia, it was their most cherished object to communicate the gospel both to the Indians on the borders of southern states and to the Negro population of those states, amounting to several thousands, especially to such as resided in the neighborhood of our congregations. Last one. And the persecution of the mission against the Cherokees in an attempt to establish one amongst the Creek Indians. Oh, we read this one already. The Negroes dispersed among them were not forgotten. So you had Negroes dispersed among Cherokees and Creek Indians. It said they will not be forgotten. The religious instruction of the Negro, showing the difference between the Negroes and the Indians in the 1600s, 1700s. What y'all think about that?
Complete difference. Like they didn't know the difference right there. So I guess the so-called black Native Americans say they was just lying. Crazy.
Yeah, that wouldn't count, you know. But what you think, Brother T?
I agree. I agree with Kadar, man. Oh, okay, my bad. But yeah, um, they would try to use this to say, that they lying
Yeah,
because it made too much distinction off in there too. I
yeah,
mean, that was pretty consistent throughout the whole entire thing. They
yeah,
they, they made it a point to make, to show that in particular.
yeah. So CC in the chat. CC, I apologize for that order you put in too. I had checked my email late, and so I'm gonna get with you. I'm gonna email you back too, but everything was corrected. I appreciate your patience on that. I apologize for that. But yeah, man. So I guess it's really not even a real topic of discussion. This is only for those of our people who don't want to accept the truth of the Most High's word. And a lot of our people really don't want to be righteous according to the Most High. Like that dude, I showed y'all that thread I was going back and forth. I called him out, man, because he did a lot of things that made me think, man, this dude might be gay. And he in so many words admitted to it, but he deleted that. Right? That's why I read that post where I told him he's going down the wrong hole. I had to get him back because he kept taking shots at me. But he deleted all that, and so that's why that seems sort of out of context. But I called him out on that, and I realized that a lot of these beliefs are not really turning people back to true righteousness. Right? It's not really turning people back to the standard of righteousness, like how the scriptures say, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. This indigenous belief is not convicting nobody. It's not making nobody look at themselves and say, man, you know what? We need to turn back to the true and living God, because that's what's keeping us down as a people. The fact that we don't want to be righteous and we don't have a true desire for righteousness. We just want somebody to give us something. And that's not to say that we're not owed anything. We want what's ours back, but we just want somebody to give it to us. We don't, like how the Most High say, he wants our hearts to be circumcised. He wants us to come back to him in repentance. He wants us to look at what our forefathers did, look at what we've been doing. And I'm just sorry, man, this indigenous belief, it don't resonate in my spirit like that. It don't challenge me in any kind of way. Kadar made a point earlier, okay, just like they tell us, okay, you indigenous, right? So how you gonna get the land back? What you gonna do with it after that? Who gonna build your kingdom back up? Because I'm not building nothing. That's not my position in the kingdom to come. And I'm not paying nobody to do nothing. These are questions they can't answer. What the government gonna give you your money, right? You gonna use that money to do what? Buy land here and do what?
So what prophecy that says that the government will repay the black so-called Native Americans that's here? Where's that at? We read, Genesis 15, it says you will leave here with great substance. It didn't say you will stay here with great substance. So where's the prophecy here? Where's the prophecy said they're gonna get the land back? Where is that at in the scriptures?
See, once again, they don't believe in that, but it's just common sense. Just even if you want to not consider that, right? How is that gonna happen? See, how you gonna do away with the people who done this to you in the first place? If this your land, how you gonna go about that? How you gonna get the means to do it? Because all I hear them say is they're gonna have to get a land back and do what? They're gonna give you the land back and then just leave. That look like that's what Trump trying to do. I'm saying that because that's all you left to. Y'all don't believe in the Most High. So y'all don't have any type of prophetic comfort as to what's happening and what's going to happen, what's going to be the end result. Y'all don't know the nations are getting ready to fight, and it's all because of what the Most High is going to do for us. Now you talking about a cold-blooded war, bro. This is the coldest form of warfare. Is to be fighting somebody, right? But you got them so blinded that they don't even realize you punching them in the face. That's how we are. We just standing there wide open, getting punched in the face, and we don't even realize it. They done numbed us out. And we don't even realize it. And this is just another form of warfare against us. Because this is going to turn our minds and our hearts away from our hope. Like Brother Yah say, our designated hope. Our hope according to the scriptures. Now we're desiring the land, to own the land and to have a portion of a land that the Most High hate and coming to destroy. So that also puts you in rebellion. That makes you a rebel.
I was just going to ask that.
You're a rebel.
Just about that. Gotta be.
How many of these people gonna be mad when it's time to go? They so certain that this our land, and you don't even need to do a DNA test to know that. Just common sense will tell you that. When have you ever felt at home here? Like if you, I'm gonna say this. Excuse me. If you feel any type of sense of home here and you're a Negro, it's something wrong with your head. Something wrong with you. And I'm saying that now. Something is wrong with you. If you feel any type of indication that this is your land or home, there's something wrong with you. You need to get checked out. That's a mental illness. That is a mental illness. This our land. Where? Lady told me that this used to be the land of milk and honey, right? She said this used to be the land of milk and honey. You need to go research how, and she didn't say America, she said Tamerica. So you need to research how Tamerica looked in the 1700s, 1800s. I said, well, shit, if America was the land of milk and honey then, why the hell was Europe and all these different places dividing up Africa then? Then. Name a nation that has invaded America for resources. Name one. They call this Turtle Island. So we on the back of a damn turtle right now, according to them.
Right.
What resources do America have? America right now, as we know it, if it wasn't for Africa, wouldn't. What would America and Europe do without Africa? Turn skinny and start looking like one of the Olsen twins when they was on that white stuff. That's what happened to America. That's what's happening now. People don't come here for resources. People come here because America is the face of the world. It's the kingdom. It's Babylon. It's all that. It's Rome. You come here, you can make money, you know.
You know what? I guarantee you, if we can go back into the first century AD, right, when a lot of our people was in Rome fighting, animals or gladiators, they probably thought Rome was the land of milk and honey.
Exactly. And once again,
same thing here, because we were so bad we could do anything wherever we go. They probably thought Babylon was the land of milk and honey in 7 years. I mean, come on, man.
But who was there though?
We were Israelites, and wherever we go, we prosper, no doubt. But is this our land? No. Look at Egypt. We was there. Look how we helped Egypt to fight the wars, and we were so bad they got scared of us because the way, we handle our opponent. That's your boy say. So wherever we went, we was the top dog, and whenever we had a chance to get, that's why even America today we still the top dog, and we can do anything. But is this our resting place? No, not even close. That's why you can't get these people to try to say this is the land of milk and honey. You can't get them to come on. You can't get them to debate that we are Indians. I really don't understand Anybody's waking up to say we Israelites, why y'all keep saying we Indians? I don't know. It's like I'm saying we Negroes, right? I use that term because we call that as a byword. But they use Indian like that. They don't want to be an Israelite, they're Indian. It's stupid. It's really ridiculous. And no, we're not Indians. We are descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, Arab slave trade, Pacific slave trade, Rome slave trade, Greek slave trade. We can keep going down, going backwards. Spain and Portugal slave trade. We are descendants of all that. This is why, and you know what? We got history to back it up. We don't have to use no newspaper clippings to try to research our last name. We got history backing up. Nobody debates that history because everybody that understands history know that we went in all them captivities. Just like Luke chapter 21, 24 said, you will be taken captives into all the kingdoms of the earth. And that's what happened to us. Black people, stop running around saying you indigenous to this land. According to the Bible, according to Revelation chapter 17, 18, Babylon will be completely destroyed. Stop claiming this land, because if you do, you're gonna be destroyed right with it.
Do ask me why does my identity matter to you? I mean, and this is the thing. If you believe you're something that you're not, you don't have an identity. That's our problem as a people, right?
Exactly. And also, you wouldn't have to troll everybody to prove your point. Your point would just be made, and you'll stand on business. I'm surprised they know. Well, I seen somebody in here earlier. It was called FBA News Update or something. I don't guess they stayed around. But when you look at them, man, they comb the internet to troll people, to argue, and that's the crazy part. Like you want to be a Native American, right? But your whole goal is to go against Africans. Why not other nations? You know what I'm saying? It's just solely African, which I know you said, well, they tried to convince us that we were African. You can prove that.
Yeah.
That's who you are. At the end of the day, when you're using your common sense and you thinking logic, like just being for real, that's easy work, you know.
Yep.
But just the way that they be trolling folks, man. I'm like, okay, if y'all are FBAs, why are you trolling Africans? I ain't no stinking African and all that jazz. Okay, that's fine, but you ain't got to troll them to prove it. Just stand on what you want. We don't
Right.
run around the Christian channel. Oh, we Israelites. We Israelites. We don't got to do that. We stand on it because we know what's true. Period.
And it's sad. We never heard Chinese man say, I'm not an Asian. We never heard a Mexican guy say, I'm not from Mexico. I'm not Mexican. We never heard, a European say, I'm not from Europe. But all of a sudden now, we're not from Africa. These black folks are stupid, man. Stupid.
And it's crazy how everybody was stand in line in front of them to take that. I remember that video some years back. The little white chick was like she was in a town hall meeting or something. And she was like, I did my DNA and I'm 2% Nigerian. I'm a sister. You know, she, she ready to be out. You know, so, man, this is insane.
It's funny, man, because that same dude I just showed y'all, he did a video where he was debating this lady that called in who was disagreeing with him. And she said she was a member of the Navajo tribe. He told her that she's not indigenous because you're a part of a group of people who migrated here during the Ice Age, the last Ice Age. That's what he told her.
What?
You're a member of a group of people who migrated here during the last Ice Age. So you're not indigenous. First thing came to my mind is, how long ago was the first Ice Age?
Exactly. Yeah.
The last Ice Age, rather. You know, like, nigga, the Ice Age. Y'all came here during the Ice Age. So that means they came here well before my lifetime, your lifetime, a lifetime of 10 generations. Because how long ago was the last Ice Age? This type of bizarre stuff I'll be talking about. Like, you know, that's like saying the sun is 93 million miles away. I mean, y'all came here during the Ice Age. Like, damn, nigga, how long ago was that?
Right.
You gonna tell me I'm not indigenous here and I've been here since the last Ice Age, but I'm not indigenous? I don't know, man. It's just more play on words, more distraction. And a lot of these people are probably encouraged not to debate, because it's not about debating, it's about pushing the propaganda and pushing the information. That's what it's about. If you was to put one of these people on a broad platform against one of us, somebody who know the truth, that will put a halt in this propaganda. That's why they don't debate. Because really, you know, it's about the questions. They don't want to, it's not that, you know, they don't want to deal with what we have to show. They don't want to deal with what we have to ask. You know? But I told you, man, it's mental psychosis going on. But yeah, all praise to the Most High, man. I'm gonna shut this down. Appreciate y'all in the chat. Psychological warfare indeed. For real. And it's on another level, right? They don't, bro. They don't have no hope. That's why this is their last hope. To get us, like the enemy said, we not, well, I got an even better one. What do prophecy say we would be doing in these last days? It said we would be remembering ourselves. All right. It said in the land of your captivity, you're gonna remember yourself. So we're in the land of our captivity, not in the land of our nativity. Y'all get that?
Yeah, I wish they would come on, man. This what gets me. None of them would not come on. This is sad, man. It's almost like Christianity. When I was in Christianity, it's like a false hope system. I went to church. I did everything. I didn't understand. I really didn't believe. This is the same thing. These people don't believe that. They lying. If they would come on.
This is the last grift on our people, bro. Ain't nothing gonna happen after this. Go on, give them your money. Go on, do all of that, because once y'all see that this ain't it, then what else you gonna have to go back to but the Most High at that point, or die? That's it. What more? What else in the conscious community do they have to give to our people, or to distract our people from the truth?
That's right.
Ain't nothing else. This and they've been perfecting this for the past 20 years. I'm telling you. It started with the 12 tribes chart. I'm telling you. Look what it morphed into. Look what Mexicans and blacks, you know, we the same. And I look at what that morphed into. If we the same, you think they can claim Africa? We can't be the same if they can't come to your house and live in your house. Like if they can't dwell in your house, if they come to your house, they're gonna have problems. Biologically, they're gonna have problems. How y'all the same? But we can sustain over here. We can live in the cold and shit. We can live in any climate. They can't. How are we the same? That's why America got to be the mother, the homeland, because everybody in the world want to come to America. This their last hope, y'all. Hope y'all can see that. Just keep your eyes peeled. Keep your eyes open. Pray for your people. You know what I'm saying? Pray for Israel. Pray for your brothers and sisters. Pray that when they say that if it were possible that he could deceive the very elect, right? Mm-hmm. How deceptive is this? See? You mix somebody that mixed you with something. You want to claim more of what they mixed you with than what you actually are. When the Most High said he finna destroy all the mingled people. I ain't got my DNA check. I don't want to see it. I hope I ain't got none of that in me. Maybe y'all be merciful. We dealing with something deeper. But yeah, man, y'all got any closing thoughts? Before y'all start though, I want to let everybody know to hit the like button, subscribe to T.I.R. as well as Resurrecting the Truth. Y'all know how it is. Go check out truehebrew.com. Freshest Hebrew brand in the land. Appreciate y'all in advance. Y'all go ahead and give me some closing thoughts on this, man. What do y'all see this building up to? Do y'all see it growing any further? Because I see people rivaling it with this DNA proof.
Yeah. Yeah, this DNA, I've been seeing it and people start doing it. And I love it because they calling out the people that say that we are enemies. Okay, do your DNA. What are you scared of? You know, I know some people are skeptical about DNA, but I seen a DNA where this girl, said she's biracial, white mother, black father. When you look at her DNA, it's identical on what she is, man. It's completely identical. She is completely half and half. So, you know, people skeptical about it. We know the people over there that call themselves us ban DNA testing in Israel. Why would they do that? If DNA wasn't somewhat true. I just seen where this lady from Kenya got awarded $54 million because she was a descendant through DNA. That's how they just, you know, they use DNA to find that out. The scripture tells us that the Most High would cleanse our blood. Now, even in the scripture, it's talking about DNA, the seed. Come on, man. Why are people running from DNA? I was told my granddaddy was an Indian. He had that, what you call, it was woolly hair, but coarse hair. The hair, like I showed what the girl did, a DNA test, Brother Eric. Her hair was coarse and still would consider woolly, but if you see her hair, a lot of people would say, oh, she mixed with Native American. She was 95% 95% African. So of course we did a lot of mixing with ham. This is how our hair got completely into what they call super curl. What people call naps, but it's super curl. But a lot of some of our people's hair coming straight out of Africa. It's not like that. It's wool, but not super curl. And so even with the DNA, it proves it 95%. Come on, man. So DNA is nothing. People say they go against them, but yet still they believe in DNA when you testing for blood work if you see if you the father or not. But how about DNA when you try to find out who's your father? You've been putting in the system, right?
Yeah.
That's how they found the father. It's the same DNA test to find out who your ancestors. Same thing, man. People get on my nerves with that. It's the exact same DNA test that you use to find out your haplogroup and your autosomal, which comes from your mother and father's side. Then all of a sudden, but I don't know, I don't trust DNA. No, it's the reason why you come up with your own statement because you are scared. When I was told I had Indian in my blood, I never questioned it. It didn't bother me. So when I came to this knowledge, the first thing I did is I'm getting my DNA checked. If I got Indian in me, I'm gonna find out, and I didn't have it. So I like to say, people, Israelites, we are so-called Negroes. We are the true Israelites of the Bible. Do not believe these sayings. Do not believe. If you feel some kind of way, get your DNA checked. Don't be scared. You'll be surprised.
Yeah. Indeed. You got anything, Brother T?
Yeah, man. Just appreciate you having me on, man. With this whole thing, bro, I talked to a brother that, you know what I mean, who was so-called, FBA or whatever. I asked him, I said, okay, if that's the case, I think he said that he was Cherokee or something like that. I can't remember what nation he said he was from. I said, oh, okay. I was playing along with it. I said, what's your native tongue? Oh, well, it got lost. I said, no, 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 no. This your heritage. This where you from. You should know that. And so I started asking questions that I've seen Native Americans ask black people. Like when they go on Amazon and order them cheap feather hats. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you know what it takes to get those hats? What the yellow feather mean? What the this color feather mean? Because all of it means something. Yeah, man, didn't know nothing. You know, and like I was telling him, man, I was like, that all of this stuff, man, is a distraction from the enemy. Because, 5, 10 years ago, wasn't none of y'all talking about no FBA, no Indians. Let's just keep it a whole buck, man. Let's stop playing. You know what I mean? Because this is a joke. You know what I mean? You letting the enemy play with you. He done planted seeds of our people. Main one, Tariq Nasheed, the ringleader, and he's trying to steal your inheritance or cause you to miss your inheritance for these lies, man. These are lies. Because y'all can't prove none of this stuff. And the most dangerous thing that you could ever do is call the creator, our Heavenly Father, a liar. Because that's what you're doing. When you're denying the slave trade, you're denying your who you are according to the scripture, then you call the most high a liar. That's just you ain't no way getting around that. And I'm not using this as like a trying to scare you into nothing like that. But I was like, man, your end is gonna be horrible. Scripture say you gonna howl, pimp. You know, this ain't nothing good gonna come out of this. Nothing. I promise you that. Even the very land that you're talking about you from is crumbling right now. You're blinded by whatever it is that got your attention. But when you look at what's really going on around the world and use your common sense, that's all you gotta do. Use your common sense. And if you don't, just ask for wisdom. The most high show you. And I ain't saying dumb to insult nobody's intelligence because all of us are dumb to something. We're ignorant to something. We don't know. I'm ignorant to building a rocket ship. I don't know how to do it. So I'll be dumb to that. Yeah. But, I'm like, every look at what's happening to this country. It's falling right now in your face. And you said, well, we got this and we got that. That's just for now. You think that's forever? There's no way you're gonna be able to stand after this. No way. Because the most high gonna make sure of that. But either way, you know, like I said, bro, I appreciate you having me on. Peace and blessings to everybody in the chat. This was good. And yeah, that's all I got, bro.
Indeed, bro. Appreciate it. That's a good point too about the language, right? If you look at the people they call Siberians and what have you, when you look at Native American languages, do the languages they speak qualify under those banners of Native American languages?
Exactly.
Right. And if so, then you can't say that your language was lost through, whatever. You can't use the slavery. Excuse me. You can't use slavery or what happened during slavery to justify that, because, those people still speak their language. And you still have Black people today who own land in Indian territory. They never lost their land. Let me put it like that. Through all of the, the land grafting, the land grifting and taking the land and removal and all this kind of stuff, you still have Black people today who never lost their land. So why don't they speak the language?
Yeah, part. Oh, and I'm gonna say this too. I made him upset too. I said, if this your land, I said, y'all some weak ass people.
Yeah.
Man, why you say that? I said, if this was your land, I said, the white man came over here, whoop your ass and took it. Y'all weak.
Exactly. Y'all let them on and start feeding them beans and lentils and giving them shelter and all this kind of shit. Showing them stuff. The whole time they plotting on you. Will make y'all any different, right? That's always a narrative. So I'd have been chunking my spears at Christopher Columbus now while they was in the water. Like them people now on that island.
Mm-hmm.
You can't come on that island, bro.
Talking about they be mean mugging too. Soon as you get within striking distance, they own.
Especially if you white.
Mm-hmm.
They'll throw their spear, they chunk spears at helicopters.
Mm-hmm. Hey, did you know it's a small country in Africa that white people ain't allowed? Did you know that?
I heard about that, but vaguely. Not enough to be able to tell you about it, but I have heard about that.
I watched the brother the content creator called Warden Maya. He went to it, you know what I mean? And you know what I'm saying? Like he was asking them why they was like that. And of course, they were talking about how, white came and destroyed stuff and this, that, and the third. So it was weird, man. He was asking like some kids. These was a young girl, couldn't have been no more than about 14 to 15 years old. And they was so on cold, man. He said, so y'all don't like white people in this country? And they was like, no. They said, what y'all gonna do if a white man come to? He didn't even get the question out. All of them was like, kill him, kill him.
He said, what y'all gonna do if a white man?
Kill him, kill him. Yeah. He was like, y'all will kill him if they was like, if they see you a mile away, they gonna kill you. They gonna hunt you down and kill you.
Telling you why y'all wasn't
Wow.
like them. Why y'all wasn't like them people.
Exactly.
See? But you'll tell a nigga he can't hunt. You'll tell a nigga he can't walk down your block. Yep. Don't walk down my street that they left me. Don't walk down my street. They took everything else for me and they left me this. Don't walk down my street that I still don't own. Right. But in any case, man, It's been a blessing, man. I'll praise to the Most High. Y'all remember, hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure y'all visit trueebry.com. You know, like and subscribe to T.I.R and Resurrecting the Truth. You know, so y'all just keep this in mind, man. Keep your people in mind, you know, because we all got family members who believe this or will choose this side more so than the true side. You know what I mean? You know, my grandmama told me, my grandmama this, my grandmama that, you know. Sad to say, y'all, a lot of our grandmamas lied. They lied, y'all. Whether they did it wittingly or unwittingly, the result is the same. Because when you lie to me and you don't know you lying to me, I think that's probably worse. Especially when you're sincere about it. People who know they lying to you, you know, they got a way of going about it, you know. They don't really believe what they got you believing. No, but when you lie to me and you believe it too, I don't know, man. I just pray the Most High I'm not in that position, you know, lying and misleading people, but it all remains to be seen. Our hope is in the word, you know. Once again, our praise to y'all, man. Shalom and blessings. I really do appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Oh, May 30th, wine party, North Carolina. You know, we're gonna be talking more about that. But, you know, get with Kadar, get with me, you know, if y'all plan on coming, you know what I mean? Because we making arrangements now. And so we just want to be ready for when that time comes, May 30th, the wine party. I'm going to close out. Y'all got anything?
Nah, bro, I'm good.
All right, bro. Shalom and blessings. All praises once again. See y'all on the next one. Shalom.